All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone, wherever you're joining us from. My name is Davier from CMC, and today we are going to kick off our conference workshop. And we have the founder of CryptoJobsList, Raman, who will be teaching us about the latest trend in the crypto space, work to earn. So CryptoJobsList is one of the biggest crypto jobs portal with over 6,000 jobs listed and over 100,000 applications. All right, before we start, I just want to remind everyone that you can ask questions in our Discord channel and also on the YouTube live stream. And without further ado, Raman, take it away.
All right, thanks, Davier. Really excited to be here today. So yeah, I prepared a few slides for today, and the title was how to get hired in crypto. But the reality is it's, work to earn paradigm. We went through a few other paradigms in the past 2 years, but I guess work to earn is the trend for the upcoming, I think maybe a year or 2 years, or seriously though, actually I think for forever. Hopefully you'll be joining, you guys will be joining crypto full-time. Either you're already working or you're considering switching into crypto, into Web3, into blockchain space. So, actually also prepared myself today for the shift. Let's go over quickly about the agenda for today's talk. So I think the number one burning question for a lot of people is bear market, right? So like we're in the beginning of bear market. I'll talk about this, job types in crypto, what are some crypto-only opportunities, some seller benchmarking. That's one of the popular questions. How to apply, and that section will contain quite a bunch of different tips, tricks. Some of them might sound obvious, but you'd be surprised how often people still make mistakes. So, all right, let's go. Kind of to the topic of bear market, people think that there are no opportunities, but there is over 1,000 companies hiring on our platform and outside of our platform. The ecosystem is getting bigger and bigger, a lot of money flowing in, including traditional money and VC money, and a lot of it is like in stable coins or in stable. So there's quite a lot of funding out there that is available even during bear market. So anyway, bear market, people, the counterintuitive part of it is that people think that, it's the end, especially those of us who joined the industry relatively recently, in the past bull market. It's very easy to think and be fearful of when is the lower lows coming in, and is it the end? Is Bitcoin dead? Is ETH dead? Is Luna dead? Is many other things dead? All these questions start coming up. But the counterintuitive, and obviously finding a job in the space, things like the stupidest thing you might be doing, right? Because everyone's exiting. And it's very counterintuitive because it's actually the best time to start looking for a job and to hire. And I'm really serious about it. And I've been through a few cycles so far, and it's kind of proven time and time again that it's one of the best times to start building, to start joining full-time, to start reading, to start working in the industry for a bunch of reasons. I think the number one is much better signal to noise ratio. So everyone who's been, hyping up on Twitter and other platforms during the bull market, most of them, those who got disillusioned, they are going to be, not applying to jobs. They're going to be, trying to go back to their previous positions where they used to work, or, maybe those people who haven't really quit their full-time jobs yet and, haven't really transitioned to crypto Web3, they might be realizing, oh, okay, I'm not doing it. And they're back to their, full-time opportunities. So the reality is, you're going to be, as an applicant, you're going to be facing much less competition. So all the people who learned about crypto and Bitcoin yesterday, they will not be in the same application kind of pipeline as you will. The same thing speaks for companies. It's much easier for companies to distill who is a serious, who's an actual culture fit. If you're applying during a bear market, it's a very, very strong signal that you are going to be in the industry for a long term, and you're not just a speculator. You're not someone who just, heard about quick riches and decided to start aping in, and decided to send your resume just for the, just to try your luck. And the reality is, again, during the bull market, we see, hundreds of job listings from pretty much every single company out there. and each listing on average gets around 100 applications. And it's really, really tough for companies to filter through that. Everyone's super excited. Everyone's like hyped up. During bear market, it's the opposite. Maybe like for companies start advertising their job ads during lowest parts of the bear market, and maybe like on average 10 to 20 people would apply. But these 20 people, they're usually much higher signal, high conviction, high IQ, big brain energy. So hope you guys is going to be one of them. And by virtue of looking at this workshop, I believe you will. So yeah, serious people, serious opportunities. Bear market is your time to shine. Next up, I wanted to go through job categories. And I think that's a very popular misconception that a lot of people who just trying to enter the space, they all think that they need to be, PhDs, math, cryptography, super advanced technically, they need to know Solidity. But the reality is there are actually more non-technical positions in the industry than there are technical positions. Yeah, certainly technical positions are highly thought after, and people and companies like very eager to hire and maybe pay top dollar for technical roles. But in terms of quantity and the kind of necessity of the positions, the non-technical ones, I would say, take the lead. Actually had a slide with like all the technical roles, but I decided to switch them up and show all the non-technical opportunities that are available and kind of the categories that are out there. So I'd say content and marketing are probably like number one in terms of like quantity of openings, along with community management. I'm not sure why I didn't mention this in this slide, but I think it's in some other upcoming slides. Community management and content marketing are probably two biggest categories in terms of quantity of positions. Every single company out there, even if they don't have a technical, a co-founder, they would be looking for someone to help with content, with marketing, with memes, with writing articles, with writing explainers, with writing technical documentation. So these categories are really a big one. And the good news is that the entry level kind of like the level of these positions is really broad. As in, there are a lot of entry level positions where you can be, fresh out of college or even still in college and start contributing, start writing content. And all the way you can be very, very senior and like you can be seasoned, content manager, or you're coming from a news background or like financial reporting background, journalism, and you can fit in as well and be part of like more senior roles. So the breadth and depth of marketing within crypto is marketing positions is very like broad. So this is something you guys can be looking into. Of course, compliance and legal, that definitely a big, harder entry point for these positions. You need to have a pretty serious, significant legal background. Of course, there's investment analysts, BD, design, and HR. Interestingly, it's kind of, a recursive topic right now. Like, I'm talking about human resources, HR, and there are, in fact, a lot of companies that are actually looking for HR so that they are moving their recruitment in-house, in addition to using platforms like ours. I think there's a bunch of great news for a lot of people that are non-technical, where you can shine and kind of stand out. And I think the entry barrier is relatively low if you know your stuff, if you're competent. But more on this later in a future slides. Within technical opportunities, I think most people who are in tech, they probably, or like and interested in crypto and blockchain technology, they're probably aware of kind of structure. But this is like a little bit of a high level. It's by no means like exhaustive or complete kind of structure of what are the kind of tech categories are out there. But I tend to classify them into like blockchain development, which is all the smart contract development. And in those situations, you pretty much need to know the language in which smart contracts are being coded for that particular chain. Whether it's EVM compatible chain, you're going to be coding in Solidity or Viper. If you're building on Solana, it's going to be Rust. If you're building on other chains, most chains these days are EVM compatible. So I think Solidity is definitely by far the most popular language, even though I've been hearing more and more people switching to Rust. An interesting argument that I've heard at one of the hackathons is that like this new wave of developers who, just considering joining in the industry, they're considering building something on blockchain. They're not quite sure whether they actually, want to stay. So they tend to choose sometimes Rust just because, like, okay, if this blockchain stuff doesn't work out, I can still have a job being a Rust developer, developing CLI tools or backend or like low level applications. So I guess that's a winning part for Rust. I personally more of a Solidity person. Anyway, there was consensus layer, which is a bit more advanced. You need to be really, really deep in the industry if you're looking for these positions as a C++, developer, or if you have that background. These type of roles are available. They're a bit harder to find, but they're out there, and there's more and more like dedicated blockchain companies out there that rolling out their own chain or their side chain, and they're always looking for competent low-level programming languages and competent technical people. And of course, the traditional web dev, I think by quantity of developers worldwide, web developers are probably number one category. And that kind of still is very transferable skills for crypto, for blockchain, for Web3. Of course, front end, every single dApp out there needs a front end, and that's kind of a common stack. You better be on TypeScript by now. You better be using Next, Vue, React. That's kind of the common stack that most applications use these days. Backend, I haven't seen that many like backend roles that require specific that are within like Web3 companies. But I've been seeing a lot of like DevOps, around running nodes, which is, I think, a field on its own. I think there's more and more companies coming out there that provide like node as a service solutions, but quite a lot of companies, they still run their own nodes, and they would have a dedicated person to manage all that infrastructure. And it's not very easy. So there's definitely opportunities there, and opportunities to like just build an entire career out of those, out of being hyper specialized. Sometimes I get asked about like, whether there are opportunities for like iOS or Android dev. These are, to be honest, very rare. Well, in terms of quantity, they're not as frequent. And usually these are like wallets, right? That's pretty much the only thing that you would expect to see on mobile is mobile wallets. And at least in my personal view, it seems that wallet space is, I think, by now highly saturated with maybe a few more or less clear winners in the space. Maybe there is another, maybe some next wave of kind of mobile Web3 applications that is going to be happening in the coming years. So maybe this dynamic will change, which actually would be very interesting, because I think majority of interaction with blockchains happens on desktop with MetaMask still and with Wallet Connect. All right. Next up, some opportunities that are crypto only. I think these are like a serious positions. And a lot of people think, they look down sometimes, or it might be easy to dismiss all the funny memes on Twitter. But, it's actually a very serious medium of communication if you're able to kind of, read the room, read the sentiment, read what's the latest trends are, and quickly open up MS Paint and make something, cook up something, very relevant to the current sentiment or the latest rug pull or the latest event, and make a lot of memes. You can propel the project or the token that you're working for, whether it's like NFT collection. So I think that position is or like that role is definitely a lot of misconceptions around it. People think that it's very easy, but once you start making memes, you realize that it's not that easy to like be spot on in terms of being funny, elegant, not too offensive, not too plain and boring. It's definitely a skill that I think you can be like this unicorn talent out there that is really specializes in making things fast and funny. I'll say next up is community management. I think there's a lot of also misconceptions about community management, what it is not. People think that you just be on Telegram or Discord 24/7, which is partially true. And then you think, most people will think that like, oh, you just, delete someone's comments or ban people, which is also partially true. But a lot of it is, moderating and starting conversations and making sure that conversations are done in the right place. A lot of it is actually thinking about security, which I think not a lot of people who consider being community management think of in the very beginning, but security is very important. The security of the Discord channel, of the Discord server, security of all your communications, making sure that there is no one's hijacking the narrative, no one's trying to send wrong addresses for like whitelisting or some other transactions. No one's trying to steal your entire server, which we've seen happen in the past several months. Psyops, I think that's something that I think less talked about, but it's even more niche, I'd say. I've never seen anyone hire someone like for Psyops full time. Usually it's like the CEOs who would fulfill those shoes, but you never know. Maybe someone in the future will be actually like internally hiring or promoted for kind of more serious Psyops roles, where you cause some sort of misinformation on Twitter or on social media, and talk about some pre-launch or some other ways of gaining advantage for your community. All right. Next up, I'll move into some resume tips, and some of these resume tips will be probably relatively conventional. There is nothing, I would say, nothing super hyper niche for crypto that people should be doing. But I think the same advice that goes for more kind of, old school applying for a job still works really well in Web3 and crypto. And you would think that it's like super archaic, but hiring managers, they still expect a CV, they still expect a resume, and they would want to look at it. It's not definitely the decision making, but it's a filtering step, right? So from recruiter perspective, from company perspective, it's important to understand that recruiters and hiring overall, it's a funnel, right? So in the very top, people gather as many resumes or like leads, and then recruiter's job or HR manager's job to kind of narrow down that pipeline into and get to the like maybe top 3 or 5 applicants, and then actually schedule an interview call with them. So not everyone, like from 100 people who will apply, resume is one of the ways to make sure that you get to the kind of middle layer before someone invites you to kind of video interview. So I looked through some resumes that I had access to, and I kind of anonymized them, and I tried to make some examples of like what to do, what not to do. And I'm not sure if you'll be able to see. Oh yeah. So like, first of all, keep your resume super simple. Don't use buzzwords. Let's go to some examples. Some kind of screenshots. Most of it is anonymized. But the key point in all of these things is they're too plain, not enough information about background and experience. There's nothing for the hiring manager to look at and understand that this person is, what are the skills of the person, right? Or, in the first case, there is, the template is a little bit too funky. Please don't do this. Don't be like overly creative unless you're a designer and you really, really know what you're doing. But kind of boring is better when it comes to templates. This example is just like very little information. Crypto trader, NFT trader, live sales doesn't mean anything. Kind of where you went to school doesn't matter as much as well. Unless it's like, some top tier university. But having experience and in details what you've kind of done in your past positions is very important. Same thing on this like third description. Third resume. An important reminder is like, don't share your private information. I've seen some people put, almost all their life on the resume, with including like their personal address, their IDs, their, phone numbers, etc. And I think it's important to be very mindful of that, especially if you're applying to a lot of companies, and especially if you're doing that during bull market, where a lot of companies, like you can never really know whether someone is like genuinely hiring, or whether it's like a scam company or whether it's anon. There's a lot of work that is done in terms of making sure that a company is legitimate in a space, or at least we're doing it at CryptoJobsList. As soon as we see that someone is being reported as a company or someone's trying to impersonate a company, we take action. But generally, if you're applying not other places on Reddit or on some other just DMing people on Twitter, you want to be mindful not to overshare your information. And sometimes people, especially when they're like a bit desperate to find a job, they like list all the information, or they've been misinformed, or maybe they like grew up in some environment that is kind of very allowing or like trusting environment. So so that's number one. Don't overshare. Make sure the formatting is really good. And usually HR managers, they look at 100 CVs and they see if you have attention to detail. Even like a misplaced comma or misplaced punctuation or like slight difference in formatting might kind of it shows a signal that you're not as you don't have as much attention to detail as someone else. There will always be people who have just perfectly polished resumes, 1-2 pages, and they just spend hours and hours in it, perfecting every single pixel of it. You want to do that as well. Make sure to include details of what you actually accomplished in your previous positions. What was your role specifically? Not just what the project did, but what exactly you did. No one cares if you were if you were making coffee at Uniswap and bringing coffee to everyone. But it's more important that if you did something very significant and important, even in an unknown project, but if your contributions were meaningful, that's more important than the brand that you were with or at. Brand does carry the name, but first of all, it's more important if you communicate very clearly what you actually did and accomplished. How did you move the needle? What impact did you have? And obviously, no buzzwords, no revolutionary stuff. No one wants to hear it. Everyone's tired of it. So be very serious and professional. All right. Next up, some examples of good resumes. And I think a lot kind of counterintuitive thing, or something that I hear people are surprised a lot, is this, like the first template here. And this is actually one of the best templates out there. People might think it's very boring. It's corporate. It's like it's a serif font. It's nothing imaginative. But the reality is, it's actually kind of the highest conversion rate goes to that resume. That's something that recruiters are used to be reading a lot. That's every single HR professional out there. They've read this format. It's easy to navigate. They know what they're looking at. And it's content. It's just content. You don't have to have time. Sorry, you don't have to like waste your time as a recruiter trying to navigate which section means what, like where is education, where is work experience. There is no like funky graphics. It's just like core substance of what you've accomplished throughout your career, whether it's short career or long career. Some variations are fine as well. If you have like more modern template, is fine. But again, like don't try and do something that is like completely outside of the box, or unless you really, really know what you're doing and you're a really good designer and you have a lot of validation throughout your career that you're a good designer and you're applying for a designer role. If you're not applying for a designer role, don't try to be too creative. Just mention your experience. Some of the things again to do is to but emphasize on the impact that you've done in your previous role. If there are some numbers, mention those numbers. How many articles you wrote, how much money you managed in the contracts that you deployed. If there are processes that you set up within a company. If you managed people, very important to mention that. Make sure that you mention like which roles you managed, how many people you had under you or reporting to you. If you helped hire these people, also specify that you had experience hiring or interviewing people. These are very important like signals for the hiring managers to look at. And in earlier stage companies or smaller companies, those hiring managers will actually be founders themselves. So it's not necessarily an HR professional. We'll be looking at your resume, but it's going to be the founders, usually one of the founders or like heads of specific department. You want to be very specific. Those people usually like no BS. They don't have time. They look at hundreds of these documents, and that's only like 1/10 of their day. So you want to be very specific to the point. Explain why will you move the needle in that specific project, which is usually that's what people usually do in the cover letter, which we will talk about in a bit as well. But this is kind of to summarize just that document. If you have kind of one of the cool things out there that I've seen, there's like an on-chain resume where you, based on your address, it will like generate or show like how degen you are, kind of your degen score. I think that is also something you might want to mention, but again, it really depends which position you're applying for, and you want to maybe even customize a little bit your resume based on the company and position you're applying for. If it's a large organization, you definitely want to be a bit more kind of structured, right? Being structured is a very important part. If you're applying for an exchange for some established company with, I don't know, over 50 people, they will have very, specific processes. If it's a smaller organization, you might be probably a bit more creative, slightly more creative. Like maybe mention your, address on chain or which NFTs you hold. But again, do not make sure that it doesn't overpower your core background and experience that you've done. All right. Some mentions over cover letters, and under cover letters, I mean when you kind of basically your first opening address to the company, whether you're emailing them, whether the job application has a form for like a cover letter or the initial message, or whether you're even DMing someone on Twitter. There are certain things that you might want to do during the cover letter. And, once again, it's like keeping it personal and relevant to the company. So it's ideally to just, address the people directly by their name. If you can find their name, that is usually impressive. And it shows that you actually did at least some work, some research about the company when you're addressing the person who's reading by their name. If you're not sure the name, you can just mention like, hi, dear Team X, dear CoinMarketCap, dear Uniswap, dear SushiSwap team, so that it's already a sign that your cover letter has not been like copy pasted. I think the next step is to make sure that you explain clearly why you're a great fit for that particular position, and how does your previous experience fit in. If you feel you don't have enough previous experience, make sure that you explain still what you've accomplished. I'm sure you've done some projects in your school if you're young and if you're just graduating, or maybe you're looking for an internship. Just be honest and authentic. Again, what your pitch, your cover letter shouldn't be perfect, because there is always someone's getting more experienced, smarter, etc. It just needs to be authentic. It should not be BS, and it shouldn't be like some revolutionary buzzwords. But it just should be authentic you, why you personally genuinely interested in the industry, working for that company, and what can you bring to the table. And yeah, be short and succinct. Like, don't write a 800 words document. I think there's quite a few also people like think different things about it, should I write like a lot of words, which is definitely not true. You can just fit something in like maybe 400 words, 300 words, a few paragraphs. You want to be in the middle, something that can be read maybe like in a minute or maybe 2-3 minutes. If something too long, people will just, TLDR, they're going to archive your application unless it's really, really good and engaging. If it's something too short, also the recruiting manager will throw it into archive as something that is low effort, and if person didn't show any effort during the application, they're probably not going to be showing a lot of effort during the job itself. And again, even during bear market, there will be multiple applicants for the same role, so you might want to you have to be competitive, right? So you want to show that you are more interested in a specific role in that specific company than the other guy, than the other anon out there. So once again, do not copy paste. Don't write things like "Dear Hiring Manager." It kind of screams copy paste, a low effort, or to whom it may concern, or I want to be part of the revolution. These kind of things, they are just like scream that the person is either copy pasting or they don't have like the right vibe. You want to be personal, even again, like in larger organizations. In the industry, people are still very, degen speak is the way, and but at the same time, you still want to be kind of professional, casual, personal, and respectful at the same time. So it's not too formal, not too completely impersonal. Even though I still seen quite a lot of applications that people submit with like complete like degen speak, but again, it really depends on the situation, on the context. If you're applying for like a meme designer role, then definitely you might want to go to the end of the world expressing your latest knowledge of memes and jokes in the space and references. And I think an important reminder, I'm still kind of surprised that people still do this. If you're DMing someone on Twitter, and you might be like, you're looking for a job on Twitter or reaching out, that's also a good way of getting into the team. Don't just say hi or like hello. You'll be surprised how many people do that. I think there's even a website like no hello, something like that. The point is some people just message hello or hi, and then they wait for the other party to reply. And usually busy accounts, they will never reply because they don't have time for it. They have like thousands of DMs, inbound DMs, and things to do. So you want to be very, very succinct and very, very clear about, hi, my name is Raman. This is my background. I'm really interested in your project. I think, are you hiring developers? This is my background. I haven't worked full-time in Web3 yet, but I'm trying my best. My background is TypeScript engineering. Or, if you're a content writer, something like, hey, here's my portfolio, send links right away. Another micro hack that I heard of recently is to not share the link at the very end of your conversation on Twitter. Just, maybe like say hi, quick introduction, link to your portfolio or to your GitHub, and then close upwards, because in the inbox in DMs, it will show like someone shared a link, and that's already like a signal that maybe there is a phishing link or something. So all these like small tweaks that actually matter, and they set you apart from the other people who invested less into trying to get to work in a company. All right. Some just general tips, general like advice. But I think before we get moving to Q&A, from what I kind of sensed over the years, is that a lot of people in the industry, they're they're active on Twitter. They're passionate about the space, about the industry, about the crypto. Maybe they've been in it since 2014. But if you've been in since 2014, you probably wouldn't be looking for a job. But you're probably going to be hiring, hopefully, and not just holding. But anyway, so one of the interesting things that I noticed is that there are a lot of people who are on Twitter 24/7. They're on Discord 24/7. They're very passionate about the space. They read almost everything, but they not necessarily have the skills, or they don't have the exact focus or background, or maybe they don't just have experience. And the reality is that I've been hearing a lot of companies hiring people who are very, very new to blockchain and crypto and Web3, but people with a little bit of a background and experience and some professional track record. And this track record and this experience quite often much more important than being in crypto for like past 2 or 3 years trading or lurking on Twitter, on Reddit. So just because you're passionate about it doesn't entitle you to be a good fit at a certain company. As a continuation of that, be world-class, specialize in something, or be like a T-shaped generalist. You want to have something that you're really good at, especially that I'm talking about this to non-technical people out there. Be really good at content or memes, or be very good at picking up the latest news and writing quick narratives, or maybe your SEO. There's quite a lot of companies that are looking for SEO specialists. I'm one of them. CMC, I think, is another one as well. Just be world class at whatever you do. Try to always get better at what you do, and advertise yourself as a specialist in some area. And if you're good enough and you kind of made your step, you placed your first foot into the door in some company, and you'll be able to grow from there, maybe expand your responsibilities. But in the beginning, it's always best to specialize in something. Salaries. So that is, I will not go too in depth, but I'm not sure if it's in the next slide, but yeah, just because someone is somewhere is getting paid 3 digits or 7 digits, it doesn't mean it's true, and doesn't mean that you should be entitled to it. And I think especially, in the last month on Twitter, I've been seeing a lot of people sharing some crazy numbers, and we also collect salary data, and we also sometimes see crazy numbers. And it doesn't mean that it's normal and that everyone's getting it. And it doesn't mean that it's not just like a clickbait article or clickbait submission. So it's definitely very easy to feel FOMO. And definitely I was in the shoes as well when I was younger, working in a startup several years ago. And I would always hear some other company or someone somewhere being paid more, or someone in Silicon Valley being paid more. And Silicon Valley salaries, they're disproportionately high compared to pretty much the rest of the world. So I would just encourage everyone to kind of be mindful of what they've been being paid themselves so far, and don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to your previous self, right? And maybe if you feel it's time for salary raise for yourself, try to increasing it by 20%. There's something psychological about it, where if you get too steep or too high increase too fast, that over even midterm, it will lead to some sort of crash, or a lot of people not able to accept or internalize a huge hike in salary when they're asking for it, or you want to start slow. You don't want to increase your income or even wealth too fast. But I think that's a different topic. But anyway, we try to share salary information as much as we can, and we try to avoid all the BS. So come by, you can submit your current compensation. If it gets approved and reviewed, you can get access to the rest of the kind of salaries. So yeah, but I guess my main, if there was one thing that I want you guys to take away, is to not to be too greedy. I think, again, speaking of my own experience, I been those days where I was doing consulting, and I pitched a very high rate at a very prestigious company, and they did not, for whatever reason, they said oh, the position is not available anymore after some time. And I thought that, of course, they didn't upfront say that it was because of very high rate that I quoted, but I had the feeling that that was the reason. So the moral of that story is you want to get into the company maybe at a decent rate, rather than stay at home and keep being unemployed and not being in a company of great minds. So I think, especially in your 20s and maybe early 30s, you still want to be learning as much as you can, and select the right boss or the right company where you will grow the most professionally, rather than trying to aim for some top dollar. Top dollar is something for you to go after, maybe in your 30s. And again, 20s, you just want to go out of your way to work with the smartest people you can find, and with the people that you will learn the most from. Anyway, next up, I think a lot of another common question that I hear, or a lot of kind of argument or complaints, oh, I don't have any experience. What do I do? Go get it. if you're a designer, mock up some websites, redesign your favorite app for free, redesign your favorite website for free, redesign the clients, or especially if you want to work for some company, make a design for them for free. Like, don't be afraid that it's going to be used. You actually want your design to be used. The same thing with the content, like write content for people, help people with Twitter threads, do memes. You will be noticed. And it's something that you can put on your resume. Of course, don't lie and say hey, I've worked for this company if you actually haven't formally worked for it, or do ask for permission. First of all, if you haven't formally worked for someone, make sure to ask for permission. Hey, can I, I did this quick internship, or I did this project for you. Can I use it in my resume? Because I've been seeing a lot of kind of lies that people tell on their LinkedIn where they work. I'm pretty sure there was 1,000 people working in CoinMarketCap, or so they claim, while the team is much smaller. And I have the same problem in CryptoJobs. There's people, there's 40 people, something like that, claiming that they work for us. Anyway, so be authentic, be honest. And just start contributing. I think that's another way of getting in, especially with DAOs or with more decentralized or less formal projects. And again, you don't have to ask for permission to do this. Just join Discord. There's a lot of text in this slide, but and it will be available later. But just join Discord. Don't DM mods right away, because mods will just block you most often, unless they're super kind and patient. Be friendly. Again, be to the point. Introduce how you can help. Introduce yourself. Pitch ideas, and just follow through and get things done. And that's what I've seen people. People who are successful, they just start contributing. They just start doing something. They just start writing. And I think writing is something that I would like to emphasize on. Regardless whether you're technical, non-technical, everyone should be able to write and communicate well. And if you're able to write, a piece of content, or some opinion piece, or some research that you've done on the latest tokenomics, or on the latest NFT, on the latest technology, it doesn't matter. Just write about something you care about. And I think that is very important. Part of the portfolio that's gonna make you stand out by far more than any other, or probably more than 90% of the people out there. If you just have an article on Medium or some other blogging platform, or on Mirror XYZ or some other, whichever you prefer, Steam it if you're in that camp, and just have something in writing that is publicly accessible, that is published or self-published. And that will definitely give you a lot of competitive advantage. As a dev, just go to GitHub. Every single project out there has a few open source repos. Start contributing. That's the best way. Or if you don't want to be sending PR requests, just git clone. That's one of the best ways to learn and understand how projects work. And I think a final tip is, again, a little bit random, but if you finally make it to some video interview, to the in-person interview with the company, make sure your camera is on during the interview calls. That is super important. Presence, very important. A lot of people who do not turn the camera on, from a company standpoint of view, is this person a scammer? Are they somewhere? Why are they not willing to share their camera? They're to share their identity. I think if you're applying as an anon, that's a separate story. And I don't think I covered this topic of how to be an anon and successfully work in a company in this presentation. Maybe something I can do in maybe further conferences. And we actually covered that several times in our previous Twitter spaces. Do make sure your camera is on, unless you're really, really completely anon and you have a good anon history and reputation. Camera is very important. And just be present and talk to the company or to the founders. And good luck. Good luck with the applications. You can find us on Twitter and on the web. DM me, or actually don't DM me, just add me. I think this is all, Davier. I think I'm open for Q&A and questions. Hopefully there were some good questions from people who've been listening so far.
All right. Thanks a lot, Raman.
Thanks.
And very insightful presentation. and you got to send me that McDonald's cap.
Yeah,
That
I will.
that was really nice. Okay, so let's start with some questions from the audience. Firstly, how do you know during the interview stage if the project is going to rock? I think you mentioned it somewhat, but how do you exactly know what kind of questions should you ask?
How do you know if the project is going to rock? I think trust your gut, right? Like if they're not willing to, like if they're complete unknowns. I mean, I think I would like to clarify probably the question if it's complete unknowns or not. I think if the people who are running a project and they're not unknowns, I think it's kind of easier to judge. It's a strong, or it's easier. Yeah, it's a strong signal that it's going to be, they are willing to share their identity. So it's much, I guess, easier. If they're rogue, they're going to be a problem. If they're unknowns, you want to see what's the background, or how did you get to that project? And then that is very difficult. I think that's some kind of alpha skill that you need to be developing yourself. Unfortunately, there is not, the money out there around the stuff, in areas where it's hard to teach certain skill. And I think finding the project that is unknown and early stage and is not going to rock is one of those skills. You definitely want to be looking at Twitter. You want to be looking at how good is their current work. If people are, are they actually following through with their what they've been promising? Yeah, but it's a very good question. I think it's very hard to predict who's going to rock with who's going to not.
Yeah. Speaking about Anon.
If someone has an answer to that question, please let me know. Maybe someone in the community already posted it. I would love to hear what's the best idea out there.
Yeah. And speaking about Anon, how viable is it to actually get a job as an Anon? And like, what tips do you have if you want to remain anonymous while you are searching for crypto jobs?
Right. So I guess there are two categories, again, technical, non-technical. If you are, I think in both situations, you definitely want to have a strong anon history, right? There are quite a few famous anon accounts on Twitter that have hundreds or at least even like thousands of followers, tens of thousands of followers. And you can see certain personalities behind them, and you can see certain track record behind them. So you want to be that. You want to accumulate that reputation, that status as an anon. You don't want to be someone with like 0 followers or 0 online presence. You still can have online presence as an anon, and you can have articles written on your behalf. You want to write, you want to show some track record. I think again with anons, the hardest part, the first part is evaluating their skill set, right? And having, again, this online presence, some articles, some resumes with as much as you can share as an anon, it's definitely something you can do. And I've seen that being done. So yeah, like make sure you have that presence. And then after that, I think there was a spectrum of anon. There was like semi-anon, who are like contributors who are anonymous to the world, but they're semi-anonymous to the team. And I've seen teams do like partial KYC on the person, especially if it's more serious role. They would do KYC on the person. Maybe the KYC vendor will know the identity, and maybe some of the founders will know. And again, if it's a solid project, they would be hopefully high integrity people and not share your identity with the rest of the world. But it also an important part of if you screw up, people will know who you are. But I guess one of the good, I'm thinking, there's a bunch of reasons to be anon, right? Just because of the complexity of regulatory space in a specific country, or just the pressure that is being built on you. So you want to be honest with yourself why exactly you're being an anon, and you want to be prepared to answer that question in an interview, why exactly you're being an anon. If it's just because, it's not a good argument. You want to, yeah, you want to explain why. Yeah, I think there was also a few articles out there about how to, like, from technical perspective, how to stay in Anon. And I think there was like a HackMD somewhere with a bunch of different tools that, help you change your voice as an Anon for video calls. I think even Twitter Spaces, they have like a feature that applies a voice filter. So that's kind of something useful you can use during Twitter Spaces. I'm not sure, maybe there was some cybersec or OPSEC processes to reverse engineer that sound into like a normal sound and completely de-anonymize the person. I wouldn't be surprised if it's there already, but I mean, you might want to do a bit more research on that and see whether it is there or not. But yeah, these are like some high-level tips.
Interesting. And you also mentioned about on-chain resume and like the DGen score thing. Do you think that's important to be an anon, or would it be more relevant in the crypto space and maybe even overtake like a PDF resume in the future?
To be honest, I think it's very exciting to talk about it. In practice, I haven't seen that happen yet. I think that's the reality. I think, let me give it a bit more thought. Again, that's one data point. I haven't seen that many companies do that. It's an interesting experiment so far. It definitely would be very, I would definitely want to see companies being able to verify that you actually work for them. I think that would be the most important part of on-chain resume. Like certifying that you actually studied in this university, you did this program, you worked at this company. And I think one of the ways that it can be accomplished even today is through like non-transferable NFTs. So that's, I think some companies are doing that, but I haven't seen a single like, complete, easy to use on-chain resume app or protocol that does it. I think everything that I've seen so far is a little bit too bloated or too centralized or too like proprietary, so to say. Yeah, but I would love to see more innovation in the space.
Okay, got it. Okay, moving on to the next questions. What are the best ways to quickly learn about crypto if you want to join crypto from another industry?
Start contributing. I think start contributing. Learn podcasts. Listen to podcasts. My personal view on podcasts is, I think with audio content, I have like this like love-hate relationship. I think it's edutainment. You might hear a lot of things, but I'm not sure what's the percentage of that information actually persists. And reading articles, reading blogs is, I think, higher. Much more information will persist, and there is no substitute for muscle memory. So if you do things, it's even more important. So start writing. I think again, writing is one of the best ways to kind of structure your thoughts. Maybe you might even think like after years of being in crypto, maybe even a few months, you don't know anything. But once you start writing something, once you like have a title to write to or like some theme, it will both structure your existing thoughts, make you conscious about what you know and what you don't know. And for topics that you do not know about, it will give you an opportunity to actually go out and research and read up more on and fill those gaps in your knowledge. And again, if you're a developer, I think most people who are devs, you need to have a certain level of absence of fear, so to say, or be a certain level of courage of not understanding in the very beginning of like, doing git clone and then like, okay, how does this thing even run? Where do I even begin? And I think, again, from technical, if you're technically trying to learn, I think good news for like front end or like web dev, dApp developers or like Solidity developers, a lot of the tool set is, so there is Brownie for Python devs out there, and there is a lot of tooling is written in like Node, NPM, ecosystem. So it's, package JSON is your friend pretty much. And you just, start learning from there. Hope that
interesting
helps.
Yeah, good points. And if I could add also CoinMarketCap Alexandra, if you want to read any articles.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. How does one become a VC in crypto?
Wow. How does one become a VC in crypto? I think there are a lot of VCs in crypto these days. A lot of people are willing to invest money. I think it really depends. Again, I'm not a VC. I'm not sure I'm the best person to talk about this, to answer this question, but I do have a lot of VC friends, or a lot of friends who are actually becoming VCs. Well, you wanna gather a bunch of money from all your friends and family, from LPs, and then you wanna deploy that capital into things that will not rug you, hopefully. I think that's these are the tips. Or you just want to. I think in crypto, everyone's an investor. You want to stay on top of the latest protocols out there, the latest individuals. Again, really depending which stage you're investing at. You want to have a specialty. Which stage? If you're like super early stage, you want to have a double-digit millions, I guess, to deploy into seed stage companies, and seeing 90% of them die or survive bear markets. You want to be conscious which stage of the project or you want to be investing in, and there are different, I think, tips apply for different stages of the projects that you want to be specializing on.
Okay, got it. So the takeaway is ask money from your family and friends.
Yeah. No, don't. Okay. Please don't do that. Don't.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, next question. Are there any accountant or auditor types of roles in crypto?
Yeah, that's a very solid question. You'll be surprised that a lot of, and to my own surprise as well, a lot of accounting firms, they actually are kind of almost forced to handle clients' crypto, and every single accounting firm, big or small, they would have people who would have more experience in crypto. And you just, if you're joining or if you're working in a accounting firm, is definitely going to be a significant advantage. I'm not sure if there is a space. There might be a space for just dedicated crypto accounting firms, but it's still going to be like, you still need to be very solid at traditional accounting, because to my knowledge, it's the same rules of credit and debit apply. And you still need to be very aware of compliance. And I think the just additional layer is the kind of being familiar with accounting for currency fluctuations, currency value fluctuations, being kind of aware of, okay, now I also need to account for on-chain fees if your clients have a portfolio on like Ethereum, for example, or being kind of not being mind blown by the fact that there is like no, about like being mind blown about self-custody, for example, right? So it definitely, I would definitely say there's like a lot more and more opportunities for accounting and for these traditional roles in crypto. So like if you're a lawyer and you're getting in crypto, you're gonna be very popular, especially if you're good. Same thing for accountants. And there is more and more kind of accounting software out there, like tax. I think CoinTracker was one of them. They're our client. I'm not sure if they're present at the conference. And I think a few other. There's accounting, I think, and several other products that help you calculate tax. And I'm pretty sure those organizations, they're a bit more of like a SaaS products, but they're definitely going to be hiring or have someone internally who is accounting specialist and compliance specialist. If you're an accountant and you're looking for a job in the space, just like reach out to your. You want to pitch yourself basically to existing employers that are there in your city or in your country, and like, hey, this is my background. I'm a solid accountant, and I'm also interested in crypto. Would you like me to start or help you kickstart this part of your business? Because again, everyone, in the past several years, been more and more traditional companies are getting paid in crypto, whether it's ETH, BTC, Dodge, or stables. So it's definitely a great time to be an accountant.
Okay, good, awesome. Okay, so with that, we'll close the workshop, and Raman and I will be hanging out in the Gather space to take any questions, as well as the slides that he has just presented. You'll be able to download it in the Gather space. So just want to remind everyone that the next workshop will be at 12:30 p.m. and it will be how to extract on-chain data for research into the block. Okay,
awesome.
Thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks, Raman.